Welcome to Big Blend Radio with your hosts, Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazine.com.
Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the mother-daughter publisher team of Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine, and also Parks and Travel Magazine. And we're also full-time travelers on the Love Your Parks tour. You can keep up with all of it. Just go to BigBlendMagazines.com. Now today, we're going to be chatting with best-selling author Pam-Webber. She first joined us on Big Blend Radio a couple years back to discuss her best-selling Southern novel called The Wiregrass. And we're super excited to have her back with us to talk about the sequel to The Wiregrass, which is called Moon Water. And you can go to her website to get it. It's available now. Go to PamWebber.com, and that's Webber with two B's, so W-E-B-B-E-R, PamWebber.com. Of course, get on Amazon, all those great places. But first, welcome back, Pam. How are you?
I'm fine, Nancy. It's so good to be with you and Lisa again.
Hey, it's awesome to have you back. Yeah. And this is interesting. Moonwater's a sequel to The Wiregrass and both Southern fiction novels. But you can pick up Moonwater and start reading if you haven't read The Wiregrass. So I highly recommend people get that.
Well, thank you. Yes, it is a standalone sequel. And while it's still Southern, it's a little less Southern. Nettie is no longer in The Wiregrass, but is actually in Central Virginia.
Yeah, so you've moved locations. Let's talk a little bit. Well, we love the Southern fiction side because there's always that mystical, like, woo-woo, something spoken through the wiregrass or coming out through the forest. Yeah. But let's give everybody an overview of The Wiregrass, and then let's give them a little insight to Moonwater, because I know Nancy's read it and I'm in the middle of it, and you can't trust us. You have to. Yeah. We'll tell everybody.
The Wiregrass introduced Nettie, and as just a little bit of a preteen. Trying to figure out how to grow up in the throes of puberty and not doing well with it, and trying to figure out the boy-girl thing and learning how to give up all these pranks that she has grown up as this mischievous child trying to do. And in The Wiregrass, she accomplishes a good bit of that. In Moonwater, Nettie and a couple of the other characters from The Wiregrass move forward. They come back to Central Virginia, which is their home. They were actually summer vacationing in The Wiregrass. And now they're back home in Virginia. And she's still doing this growing up thing. And her challenge is trying to figure out what forever love is. She doesn't know. And that's one of the themes that goes through. How do you know if it's going to be forever? How do you know if it's not? Among the other things, she's having trouble with her boyfriend. Long-term boyfriend, started out as her best friend in the sandbox, and they kind of grew up, and she's just trying to figure out that relationship. She's got a lifelong nemesis that keeps jabbing at her and just seems to cause her problems every time she turns around. And then she's got this hellfire and brimstone Baptist preacher that won't baptize her. He doesn't think she's ready. And if you see some of the antics that she's pulled, he's right. But it's part of that continuation of growing up, Nettie growing up. And then a very interesting thing happens. In Central Virginia, there is a very unique Native American tribe. They're called the Monacans, and they're unique to Amherst County, which is where Nettie, where the story is based out of. And so what I was able to do in this story is build in Nettie's friend, or build up the character of Nettie's friend, who's Wen, and she's the granddaughter of a Monacan shaman, or a Monacan medicine woman. And the Monacan medicine woman's name is Nibby, N-I-B-I, and Nibby sends this strange message to both of them that she wants them to come, that she has a summer project for them, and the project that she has is to build a dream catcher, and not just your typical touristy type of dream catcher. These are the shaman-like dream catchers. And in the process of doing that, Nibby's goal is to teach them very valuable lessons. She has foreseen, Nibby is a shaman who can see the unseen and know the unknown, and she knows something is coming, and she's trying to prepare the girls for it. And one of the ways that she does this is through the building of these dream catchers. And to build these dream catchers, it takes all summer, and they have to scour the Blue Ridge Mountains for different elements that are specific to build this type of dream catcher, all leading up to this big event that Nibby has a premonition about in the end.
That's cool.
Yeah, you start
Good way to keep her busy.
Yeah, but it's interesting about the dream catcher because, in the beginning, in the preface, you talk about Nibby. There she is, looking at the porthole in the center of a dream catcher. We even have a dream catcher on our rear view mirror hanging there. It's a little on the touristy side, but now I'm kind of thinking, well, I have a devil's claw with it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing now. But it's interesting because it's supposed to catch those dreams, and those dreams can be good, bad, and go to reality. And so you've brought in this lore, this native. It's not really lore; it's real. It's a real tribe, like you're saying, and her being Nibby, being the medicine woman. I think it's really interesting how many people she is connected with in her region and how much she does. Did some of your nursing background sneak into there with how she's the medicine woman and making people different tinctures and remedies?
Maybe a smidge. I was lucky enough south of us in a place called Natural Bridge, and you may have even visited Natural Bridge in the past. There is a Monacan village. It's a mock-up Monacan village, and a cousin of mine actually knew the Monacan life interpreter down there, and he introduced us to and I met this wonderful Monacan woman named Victoria Lastwalker Ferguson. And she's full-blooded Monacan, and she literally built this village there. But have you ever met somebody and you just know that it clicks, and everything that was coming out of her mouth was just solid gold? Everything from how she was weaving the rope that she was weaving, and the thatching the roof, and as we took this walk, this plant does this, and this tree, the bark of this tree does that, and these bugs will do this, and you got to watch out for that bug, it'll bite. It was just the wisdom that just rolled out of her. So I think most of the stuff that I was able to pull in about the Monacans and the life and times of this shaman and what it was like for her to live in those mountains doing what she did every day, that came a la Vicki Lastwalker Ferguson, bless her soul. She was an invaluable help in the writing of this book.
Nice. That sounds like fun.
It was. And
fun research, yeah.
Fun research, and it was lucky that whenever I stumbled and I wasn't sure where to take something, I would call Vicki, and she would walk me through it. Like, now wait a minute, did they really do this, or was this the Western tribes, or? But it was not. It was having your own Monacan dictionary right there.
Wow, fortunate.
I love how you've connected the landscape into the story. You've woven that in of the natural setting, and I think that's part of that is tying the roots, understanding when a storm is coming, the nature, and I think that I really love that about the book, that you feel a sense of place. Didn't you feel the same way, Nancy?
Yeah, it puts you right there. You're like, oh, storm's coming. Do I even have a quote?
That I like to read. I like to read books that will put me in the scene. If it's hot and sweaty, I want to be hot and sweaty. If it's cold and shivery, I want to be cold and shivery. So I try, when I write, I try to do that, to set the setting such that the reader can step into the scene with us.
That's cool. You do a good job at that too, because it's almost instant. And I like that too, when a book grabs you like right off the first paragraph.
Thank you.
And then you can write it all the way to the end.
Yeah, exactly. And the age group of readers, like the Wiregrass, you have, you're saying that even men were reading the Wiregrass too.
It was a beatness thing, because when in talking with the publishers, we had this little go around, like, because some of the themes in the Wiregrass and even some of the themes in Moon Water, they're mature themes. So I wasn't real crazy about young people reading them, at least not without a adult. So the publishers and I were having this discussion, women's fiction as opposed to YA. And then all of a sudden with the Wiregrass, I started looking at the website statistics, and it's like, oh my gosh, 54% of the people reading this book are men. And that kind of surprised me, to tell you the truth. But in the Wiregrass, if you remember, it's got a pretty big military component because it takes place in Alabama, right outside Fort Rooker, which was the Army helicopter training facility. Well, it still is the Army helicopter training facility. So there was a lot of a military piece to that story. So I'd be real curious to see whether it holds true that men still are reading this.
I look at it also because it's so regional, the landscape again. So do you get a lot of people living in the regions, connecting too? So with the Wiregrass, like you're saying, okay, so you're going to get men, but maybe now you're going to get people up in Virginia connecting with this book even more.
Well, I hope, and especially in the Blue Ridge, it is regional. It is a very unique culture, especially right there in that central Virginia. It's so isolated, not really isolated, but it's protected by mountains on 3 sides. So it is a very unique culture. I've been lucky enough that with the Wiregrass, the Virginia Festival of the Book selected it as one of the books to feature for the state of Virginia at their festival in 2016. So it did get a fair amount of exposure in Virginia, and I've met with book clubs and talked with people all over the state. In fact, really all over the country. It's been amazing.
Awesome.
I've done Zoom things with people in Canada. Yeah, it really was
nice.
kind of cool. And talked with a few people over in Europe that had gotten the book, and then all over the country. It was very interesting to see who was responding, though, because it was the women that made the personal contact. Either they had experiences similar to what happened in the Wiregrass, or they just wanted to share stories about similar types of stories. So I'm hoping that Moon Water does the same, that it connects. That it makes people feel something enough that they want to engage with the characters, they want to engage in the story, want to find out more about what went on, because it is historical fiction. So there's a fair amount in the story that was true, that they can investigate and explore on their own.
I think that's really, when you get into historical fiction and then you tie in these personal stories, that is something that I think is important for people to start to understand regions and places. Nancy, that's something our favorite thing. It's historical fiction. And then you've got Southern fiction in there. Man, come on, this is cool. One thing I thought was very interesting is here's Nettie, who's 16 years old. We're at that time, at that age, we're getting all touchy-feely with, with our boyfriends, girlfriends, we're getting naughty. And now her best friend, Andy, is like, he's the one all in love with her, and she's the one battling this, I can't say I love you and really, know that this is going to be it for the rest of my life. At 16, I mean, now as 3 ladies here, we're all in our adults. We all know that at 16, well, you really don't know. But usually it's the girl going, I love you, and all the emotions, and the guy's like, dude, no way. So it's kind of an interesting thing. And I think we, as women and girls, we are kind of changing in that way. So I think you've got a interesting story of that coming of age story, but going with that, because normally it's the guy who's not like, what do you mean about love? Don't say that 4-letter word.
I'm in a writing support group with 3 other writers, and the guys in the group gave me so much stuff about that role reversal. I said, just get over it. It's okay. that the girls take the lead on this. And one of the things that drives me to do these books is that I want my children and my grandchildren and great grandchildren and on and on and on to know, especially the girls, that it's not all preconceived what love is. I think 16-year-old girls, traditionally, it's that goo-goo type of mushy love, that even for a 16-year-old to ask the question, wait a minute, I don't know what love is, and I don't know what it's not. And in the Wiregrass, I had Nettie going through puberty. So with the Moonwater, I had to do something with that sexuality a little bit. So I didn't want to, there's a line in there where she and Andy are together and they're stopping on the good side of bad. And that's the one thing that I wanted to make sure. This is not a book about, teenagers having sex, but it is an exploration of the types of physical challenges and emotional challenges that young people have to, they engage with and they know about, but what they know is so limited. That I wanted Nettie to explore it. What is it? What the heck does it mean? And why did all these girls want to get married? And by age 8, come out of high school wanting to get married or want to be engaged. What does it mean? So I wanted those questions to be posed for the little girls coming along in my family to say, no, it's okay. Ask the questions. You don't need to be married by the time you're 18. You can go to college. And if you don't ever want to get married, that's okay too. Yeah.
Oh, yay.
Yes. In this day and age.
That's so funny.
Well, that's how I was, when I graduated high school, half my friends were engaged, pregnant, or, getting married, and that was the last thing I wanted to do. And I'm still that way because I won't, unless, I don't know, can't say never, but There
was a time when I had actually a friend who did a thing on why women ended up as competitive as they are. And she traced it back to the cave days, believe it or not. It was a really interesting story. And she said in the cave days, women competed for the male because the male brought protection and food.
Yeah.
And that competitiveness just kind of was inbred in us for so many years until the world wars happened. And all of a sudden, the men were all fighting the wars and women entered the workplace in droves, absolute droves. And in doing that, we learned, okay, I can support myself. I can, if I want to have a child, I can have a child, but I don't have to have somebody else that I'm dependent on for protection and food. So, we're really the first generation, maybe the second generation, that reaps that benefit and is very comfortable in our own skin. No, I don't. Well, I've got a wonderful husband. Don't get me wrong. I just adore the guy. I know full well, and he knows full well, that if I wanted to live independently, if I wanted to just support myself, I could do it, and I could do it and not bat an eye. And that's the benefit of women in this day and age, that we can do it if we choose to do it.
I think it's a benefit for men because they don't have to feel like the only reason somebody married them is so they could be supported.
That's a great point. Yes, it is.
Yeah. I think guys should be really happy about that, but I don't think all of them are. Some really like to be the dominant force,
Yeah, I don't do well with that. I don't.
No, me either.
Husband knows.
No.
But I really like it that, that this is something there for girls that are reading this, that they can go, okay, I'm not nuts, if I want to go to college and do all these different things. And I think it is, like you're saying, we're in that new wave of, what we are as women, especially now. Look at what's going on. It's like we're fighting the feminism wars all over again. It seems like sometimes, we go forward and then we go back a few steps. And it's important now that young girls do think about who they are, that they're not a piece of meat, that we do have, brains, and we can do what we want with them, and we can be all we can want to be, And I think, especially with the Me Too movement of what's been going, it's like we need to, as much as young girls can know, the better.
Also, it's not the big rush.
Takes place in 1969. So, in 1969, lots of things were happening with women. The women's movement was taking off. But, where the story is taking place, it's so rural. It was kind of underneath that they didn't have a lot of that interaction. But it was that time period where girls could say, look, no, I want a relationship, but I also want this. I don't want to be a Mrs. Mister. And they were exploring that, and I really wanted that to come through, that women would not be we wouldn't be where we are today if those women in 1969 had not done what they did. I don't think, or at least not as far along.
Well, I think things have changed, and there's not like in the olden days, the lifespans were half of what they are now. So there was a big rush to go get on with it and get your family going and do all that stuff. And today there just isn't that rush.
Mm-hmm.
You have time. You don't have to do the 16, 18-year-old thing. You really, really don't. But there was a time when that, even like my grandmother got married when she was 13.
Oh my gosh.
I know it sounds crazy, but it was an arranged marriage. That sounds crazy. My grandfather was supposed to marry her half-sister, and the half-sister bailed, so they just shoved my granny in there and said, okay, no, you do it. So she married at 13, and then she's British, and came over to the States, and by the time she was 24, she had a bunch of kids. 6.
Isn't it almost unfathomable?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. But thank God we've come as far as we have come. If women want to have a family, knock your socks off. If you don't want to have a family, that's okay too. It's that pressure is simply just not there anymore.
Mm-hmm. So this is exciting also about bringing in. So you've got a coming of age story. You've got feminism in here. The women, and you've got friendships. I like also. You've got that rival, that here it is, also showing how girls don't get along, which is also something we need to, as we get stronger, as in our genders, we need to also work together more. So I think that's also important that you bring that in, that we're always going to have someone who doesn't like us and who messes with us, but how are we going to handle that as we go through life? And women should support each other more.
One of the things that I really wanted to look at, because I know in my own life and my kids' life and peers that I know, there's always that person, you know what I mean? That you have those that love you, you have those that hate you, and then there's always that one that just seems to be jabbing at you. And I wanted to explore that for my girls and grandchildren to come, that, why is this? And more importantly, I wanted to look at what was I bringing to that party? What does the supposed victim, if I'm the victim and they're jabbing at me, it didn't get that way by a one-sided event. There had to be two sides to it. So getting people, women especially, to kind of look at these situations and say, okay, what caused this? What did I bring to this situation that I could have changed and I might be able to change in the future? Someone recently asked me what was the most powerful scene in the book, and it surprised them when I said that it was the moment when Nettie realizes that she may be responsible for starting the conflict with the nemesis with Anne. And that's a hard thing for people to realize, that, oh my God, I'm the one that started this. So it's that reflection of personal responsibility. What did I bring to this scenario, and can I do anything about it?
It's interesting because it goes about tomboy versus the petite pretty girl, who wears the sneaker, who wears the high heel shoes. I'm on the sneaker side.
Yes, Dolly parties, yes.
There's a lot of jealousy.
There's the boyfriend jealousy.
The jealousy.
That competition piece comes in there, that women in competition,
Yeah. To me, it's interesting. You brought all of these together, and then let's talk about the moon. The moon water and this blood moon, is that also going into the Native American history and heritage that you brought that into play?
It is, without giving too much away about the ending of the book. One of the sentinel events in the end happened at night. And I wanted to, not only did I need to tie in that mystery and mysticism associated with the Native Americans, but also what was going on at that moment in 1969 when all of these things were happening. So I just happened to literally come across what the moon was doing. And I thought, well, this fits, it kind of fits with that Native American mysticism and what Nibby might have seen when she gazed into the portal. I took a little bit of liberty with the gazing into the portal, because it's really not a mysticism per se type of book. It's just that intuitive knowing, that some people have when something is approaching and something is not. And I wanted to build that in, and the moon and different types of moons and the phases of the moon, it just slid right in like a good fitting glove. I thought, this is it. And once I started down that track, it just really kept rolling. I thought, this was a good way to go.
So is that what happened and why we got all those hippies?
Yeah.
Well,
it was the moon, did it, not me.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's interesting too about that, because it's about that gut and intuition and trusting your intuition, and that's also a skill to develop as you mature as an individual, whether you're male or female. You got to start trusting your gut and
trusting
listening.
your gut, that intuitive knowing. And also, one of the themes that kind of runs through Moonwater is this idea of fate. What role is fate playing, and what happens to us, and what's fate, what's not. And we kind of look at that, is this where I'm supposed to be, or is this where I'm not supposed to be? Mm-hmm. So that whole piece of intuitive knowing, I wanted to kind of build into that, and the fate piece as well.
Awesome. This is exciting. So what's happening with book number 3?
Yeah.
Interesting that you ask. I literally am working on it now, and I think this is going to be the last in the series. And one of the things that I want to do in this one is bring Andy forward. He's kind of been the stalwart, the steady guy, the male presence in her life since the sandbox days. And in 1969, as you know, what was going on was, Vietnam was roaring. So I think in book 3, I've kind of drafted out the chapters now. I'm going to have one chapter Nettie, one chapter Andy, one chapter Nettie, one chapter.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And Andy will be in Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Which is going to be a challenge for me.
Yeah.
But my husband was in Vietnam, so I've got firsthand experience that can kind of guide me and walk me through that.
And so Moonwater will be another bestseller. It's out now, everybody.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Oh no, we just know. We trust the intuition, man.
I love that.
We do. So I'm excited for you. And then, do you think the third one will still also be in Virginia in the Blue Ridge Mountain region?
I haven't decided that yet.
Oh.
They may be, but I just don't know yet. Haven't gotten that far.
Okay, well, everyone's got to read Moonwater first anyway.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read The Wiregrass, I highly, suggest that you do. So get both of them. It's really cool, and put it on your end of summer, fall reading list. And then, of course, as the holidays come, don't forget, that's the best way to fill a stocking is with books. And wine. Books and wine. That's
books and wine.
Cool. Books and wine. So everybody, again, Moonwater, again by Pam-Webber, and you can go to her website. It's always good because then you can connect with her on Twitter and social media, Facebook, all those great places. Go to PamWebber.com. That's WEBBER, Pam-Webber. Of course, get the book on Amazon, all those great places. Before we go, Pam, I did want to say most of what you do is you do a lot on Twitter. I know we've been following each other for a while now, huh?
We have.
On Twitter. What's your favorite social media platform as an author?
As an author, I guess it would have to be Facebook, because not only can I share information about what's going on with the writing, but the readers can contact me easily. We can have sidebar messages going back and forth in conversations. And several times we've actually progressed that into emails or phone calls. So I think it would have to be Facebook. It's really interesting what I hear is going on with social media right now, that it's changing, that Facebook is kind of waning, and Instagram and Twitter. I Twitter, but I don't get that sense of personal contact with Twitter and Instagram that I seem to get with Facebook.
Yeah, everyone's got a different thing of what they do, and I think women tend to do a lot on Facebook more. I think Twitter, I've just always done it, but I'm just always curious, on that level. And when you talk about connectivity, are you doing more and more with book clubs? Do you see that happening also with Moonwater in developing book clubs?
I hope so. That was a very pleasant surprise with the Wiregrasses when the book club discovered the novel. And if they're close, I will go to them. But so many of them aren't. But so we Zoom, and that has been a hoot. I mean, to talk with these, and most of them are women. I think one of the groups had a couple men in it, but most of them were women's book clubs. To hear their perspective from all across the country, from the desert Southwest to Washington State to Canada to the South where this occurred. It was amazing to hear the common themes, the universal themes that ran through, that everybody seemed to pick up regardless of the region they were coming from. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of it. I love getting to know these readers, and they give me such good ideas like, well, Pam, why didn't you have Nettie do this? Or, why didn't Andy do this? Or, what if this happens? So, a lot of times I've got a notepad, and if they're giving me good ideas, I'm kind of writing them down. So maybe they may grow up to be something in the next book.
Oh, wow. That's a really cool connection.
Yeah, it's a good way to research.
That's nice that you have that personal contact. And that Zoom does, Zoom, Skype, all of these things that we have in the world of technology. It's we can use these in a positive way, like what you're doing. So again, everyone go to PamWebber.com, and we're going to play some music for you, Pam.
All right, that sounds good.
Connect music, especially with stories. And this song is called Moon Madness. It's off of the album Pledge Drive by Blind Lemon Pledge. So everyone, you can check them out at blindlemon-pledge.com. You'd like him because a lot of his music goes into like the Shenandoahs and Virginia and the Blue Ridge Mountains. In fact, he's got Backwoods Glance. One album is that, Evangeline. It's kind of the history of America he tells through his music. So we're going to do Moon Madness. So we're hoping that you have a music playlist, because that would be so cool to
Well, thanks to you, I am starting one.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, I enjoyed it, ladies. I always do. Hopefully, if you get this far east, give me a buzz. Let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll time it for the third book. How about that?
Okay, that works for me.
Oh,
Well,
that'd
you
be
better
fun.
get typing.
Yeah, really.
We might be there sooner than you think.
It took me 3 years to write Moonwater. So I'm hoping I'm getting faster as we go.
Oh, right on. Thank you so much.
Take care, girls. Bye.
Bye.
I'll be waiting for you when the moon's on the hill, when the night wind comes to your windowsill. I'll go sliding through the night like a cat on the prowl. And you know that I'm coming when you hear me yowl. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon madness. Gone crazy for your love. Got the moon in my eyes. I got a vision of you. Got me hypnotized. Gone nights without sleep. When the moon is full, I'm outside your window like a lovesick fool. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon madness. I'll steal into your room like a thief in the night. I'll steal a kiss in the blue moonlight. I'll take you by the hand and lead you to the ledge and melt back into the night. Steal into your room like a thief in the night. I'll steal a kiss in the blue moonlight. I'll take you by the hand and lead you to the ledge and melt back into the night. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon madness. It's just a touch of moon